communicating your own boundaries, there might be a little bit of, oh, I don't want to ruffle feathers. But I think in New Zealand, it's something that we could potentially practice a lot more. In my experience with other cultures, like South American cultures, for example, they, from what I've seen, are really straight up. They'll say what they think and they'll say what they feel. And for a start, it's like, oh, wow, that was a bit direct. But actually, you know where you are and you know where you stand. And as soon as you get over that initial, like, oh, then it's actually so much easier because everybody just knows where they stand. As opposed to, I think in New Zealand, huge generalization, but a lot of the time we're like, oh, yep, no, that's okay. And oh, yep, no problem. When actually that's not how people really think and feel. And he healed me, but not just from the irritable bowel, but also completely turned my life around because he opened my eyes to the connection between diet and health and inspired me. That was the spark that then grew over many more years to wanting to study natural medicines. But out of all of the studies that have been done on stress management, breathing is the quickest, most effective way of dissolving stress hormones. It doesn't take any equipment, it doesn't cost you a cent. Your breath is always there, ready to ground you, and it can actually make a massive difference for in the heat of the moment when you feel triggered and you need to calm down. It works. If you did it every day, it means that your baseline stress level would be much lower, so would become much less reactive and more patient, and can really help with sleep. So out of all of the stress management practices, I'd say for me, that's got to be the best.
Today our guest is Lauren. She's a Kiwi from the west coast of South Island, and her journey into health began over 14 years ago through yoga, where she saw how much people needed natural medicine. Experiencing its power herself, she went on to study naturopathy and nutrition while she was raising her two boys. She's now based in Medfern, Canterbury, and she combines yoga and natural medicine to help others find balance and vitality. Lauren also runs workshops and retreats across New Zealand, sharing her passion for holistic health and lifelong learning. Let's welcome Lauren. Hello everyone, and welcome Lauren for our conversation. I'm really looking forward to learn all about you. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So Lauren, I heard about you from someone that I've interviewed long ago, and she said, "Ah, you need to interview Lauren. She's fantastic." So I bet you probably helped her in her own journey.
Potentially.
Cool. So, Lauren, I would love to start with maybe this first question. What is the most exciting part of your life right now?
Of my life or my work?
It can be either or.
Okay. Well, I guess I could potentially address both. The most exciting part of my life at the moment is just the lead up to summer holidays. Very excited about, yeah, going on some travel adventures with my family. That's very exciting. Um, I guess the most exciting part of my work is always so people come for an initial consultation and then together we make a plan and they go away and chip away at some changes. And then it is incredibly exciting when they come back for their follow up because almost always there's been some really positive change. And it is really exciting for me and for them hearing about those changes. It really spins my wheels.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think it must be really rewarding to feel and to know that people are shifting and changing.
It really is. And it doesn't happen every time that amazingly, but often it does. And it is incredibly rewarding. Yeah.
So you were mentioning in your personal life that you are looking forward for those holidays. Like, how long have have you haven't had any holidays? I'm curious.
Um, well, I usually take most of the school holidays off and just hang out with the children and go places. It hasn't been that long, really. I guess the last set of holidays was maybe in September, where no, actually, it must have been in, September. And we went down to Queenstown and caught up with some friends down there. So not too long.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's quite important to have this balance between holidays and time off and having a business. Maybe if you want to, yeah, to talk about your own balance, how you find this thing because you have two children, so obviously you need to have this balance, a husband and your business. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually think balance is probably one of the most important things in life. And it's very easy to lose your balance, especially if you have a job that you love and children that you love. It's very easy to tip into completely giving out all of your energy and all of your time and then becoming depleted. So I guess it is a priority for me to make sure that I do take time off, and I feel lucky that I can manipulate my schedule in that way. I know a lot of people can't, but um, it's in those busy times that self-care is the first thing to get dropped, because it's the easiest thing to drop. But actually, I believe that it's in those busy times that's when self-care practices become more important, so that you can get through the busy times. So for me, it's making sure that I take at least half a day, if not a full day, off midweek to just recalibrate. Today is one of those days, and to receive a little bit and just take things a little bit more slowly. Um, and yeah, I guess keeping the balance in that way. It's very hard to say no. I know for most people it is hard to say no when people ask for help, or when your family needs you, or I guess maybe when if you had a boss that was asking you to do things. So I think that's probably one of the biggest factors for me and biggest challenges for me in keeping the balance is learning how to say I can't do this at the moment, because if I get depleted, then I can't really help as well as I should be able to. So although there's a little voice that says you should potentially say yes, you should work more, there's also another little voice saying, well, actually, you need to take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others.
This is such a powerful statement and a subject to touch base because the boundaries is something that we are all suffering, especially when we have a business, but I think it's for everyone. And I believe in what you're saying that it maybe hasn't been this way all the time. Maybe you didn't respect your boundaries at some stage. So if it's the case, would you be willing to explain a little bit how you learned to be strong within your boundaries and say like, I know you need help, but I need help myself first?
It's such a relevant question because through my work, people can email me, and I don't mind that. But sometimes people email me quite a lot, and that's a boundary that I need to work with to say, if it's urgent, for sure, contact me. But if not, then let's discuss this at your next appointment. And that is something that I'm working with at the moment, because I want to just answer the questions and I want to be there for people all the time. But I'm getting to the point where if everybody does that, then I'll have no energy and no time for anybody, actually. So that's something that I'm working with right at this moment, actually. I need to potentially communicate that a lot better to people, to say, yeah, to put something in place, like saying that I'm happy to receive the emails and questions if it's urgent, but otherwise let's keep the questions for your follow-up. And I guess that's the boundary that I need to set, and that's the boundary that I need to compassionately communicate. But I guess I have a little fear that if I say to people, just keep it at the follow-up, then they might feel, oh, I'm so sorry, I feel bad, and I don't want people to feel bad like that. So I guess a lot of people do grapple with something similar in their work life as well, that communicating your own boundaries, there might be a little bit of, oh, I don't want to ruffle feathers. But I think in New Zealand, it's something that we could potentially practice a lot more. In my experience with other cultures, like South American cultures, for example, they, from what I've seen, are really straight up. They'll say what they think and they'll say what they feel. And for a start, it's like, oh, wow, that was a bit direct, but actually you know where you are and you know where you stand. And as soon as you get over that initial, like, oh, then it's actually so much easier because everybody just knows where they stand. As opposed to, I think in New Zealand, huge generalization, but a lot of the time we're like, oh, yep, no, that's okay. And oh, yeah, yep, no problem. When actually that's not how people really think and feel, and then potentially get resentful or passive aggressive, and then it gets worse. So I guess what something that I'm practicing that we could potentially the whole country practice is actually just saying nicely, obviously, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're needing, so that everyone knows more where they stand, the boundaries are in place, and then we don't have to feel resentment for the people that are asking or frustrated or end up just saying yes to everything and getting depleted.
Yes, that is a powerful statement. Like it's so true. I see that a lot in people. Like I'm coming from France, so I'm quite direct as well, and I'm not too worried, although but yeah, I'm not too worried to say where I am and with my boundaries, but I see a lot of my client people pleaser and yeah, there is a lot around that. And there is probably, you can reflect on that. This idea now that because we have a phone, we have the email 24/7, basically like someone will send you an email in on Saturday or Sunday, and for some reason you open it and then you feel obliged to respond. But actually, it's harder now to find our own boundaries in our work. Before, when we had a phone, a landline phone, it was easier because, well, I'm not at work, but now everyone can reach us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, can totally. Yeah.
So, in your bio that you wrote, you mentioned that you experienced firsthand the transformative effect of naturopathy. I would love to hear. I'm sure there is a beautiful story behind that one. And if you want to go back, you can go back as far as you need and to understand what is this story.
It's a little bit of a funny story. So when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, I was traveling around the world teaching snowboarding and partying a lot. I had no idea about health. I was just having a good time. And that was fine when I was younger, but in 2008, I started to get what I later learned was irritable bowel syndrome. So I would get excruciating pain in my stomach. But what I would do, and I remember this one time, I was curled up in a ball in heaps of pain, cramping, just waiting for the pain to pass. The pain passed, and I got up and went to the party and drank all the beer. I was completely ignorant to the what I was doing and the effect that it had on me. And I was also had really bad smelling gas. And it was a joke around around the crew that I worked with. But then this one time, I was at a party, and my boss's wife pulled me aside, and she said, Lauren, there's something wrong with you. You need to get that checked out. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe there is something wrong here. So I went to the doctor, and then the doctor GP, and he did blood tests, and they all came back fine. He said, you're fine. And I was like, I'm definitely not fine. I've got this really bad gas and really bad pain quite regularly. And so I was left then by the medical system, which is a really common story, not criticizing in any way. That was just where the limit, I reached the limit of help there. So then I went to get a colonic. If you're not sure what that is, it's a procedure where the bowel is flushed with water. And the amazing man who ran this was an old retired naturopath. And so I went in and I filled out the form, and I was there getting that done. And he was asking me my story, and I told him all of my story, and he just felt the need to take me under his wing. And I didn't have much money because I was a ski bum, and he did the colonics, but then he also treated me for free. He would see me quite regularly. I went to his home, and he taught me about diet and about the microbiome and probiotics, and he healed me, but not just from the irritable bowel, but also completely turned my life around because he opened my eyes to the connection between diet and health. And inspired me. That was the spark that then grew over many more years to wanting to study natural medicine. So although it wasn't nice experiencing that irritable bowel syndrome, I'm so glad that I did, because it was the catalyst, I guess, for what now is the career that I love.
Wow. Yeah, I think as a human being, we need to have some hard challenges to wake up. Often is the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you are also a yoga teacher. So when did that happen with the natural study?
When I was younger, I did a lot of dancing, jazz dancing, for 12 years through my younger years. And then when I left home and went to university, just that kind of fell away. But I always had the passion for body movement. And I don't actually remember oh, I do. Yes, there was a lovely lady called Steph in Wanaka, and I went to some of her yoga classes. And then I thought, oh, okay. And that again just sparked an interest. And then so I practiced more and more, and then decided over a few years that I wanted to do the teacher training. So I headed off to India and spent 2 months in India there with a teacher in the north studying yoga. And yeah, at the same time, we'll just rewind a little bit before that. I was traveling through South America and practicing yoga and also getting a little bit involved in massage. And there was a girl working at one of the hostels that I stayed at, and she was training in Thai massage. And I received a Thai massage from her, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I want to do this too. And so that trip where I went to India for 2 months and studied yoga, which was such a blessing, because the teacher that I studied with, he was super, super traditional, to the point where the asana practice, which was like the movements, was a very small portion of the training that I did. It was more the pranayama, the breathing, and the philosophies and the meditation. And at the time, because I was a young, rushy 20-something-year-old, I just wanted to stand on my head and wrap my legs around my head and do all the fancy things, and it wasn't happening. And at the time, I was pushing for more. But what I realized since leaving then is what I learned from my experience there is something that I could never have learned anywhere else. The experiences that I had with the pranayama and the Indian philosophies and the meditation is something that I've been able to not only enjoy myself, but weave into classes that are very, very different to what you'd normally get in a yoga class. And then I went on from there to Thailand and studied Thai massage for a while before I came home. So I guess it's just great to look back, isn't it, at your life and these pivotal moments that at the point you don't realize are pivotal, the people that you meet, the inspiration that you get, and then you follow that path, those paths that all lead up to this moment.
Mm. And how did you tie up all that you learned in your practice? How and when?
Well, it just all goes together so well. So after I did that training, I came back to New Zealand and I was teaching yoga and doing massage, and those two complemented themselves really nicely. But a lot of people were coming up to me as a yoga teacher and asking me more in-depth questions about health, and I just didn't have that knowledge. And I realized that I really wanted that knowledge, and I really actually wanted to be able to help people completely, not just with yoga and the amazing things that it offers, but it wasn't enough to help people completely find wellness without the dietary side of things. And so I decided that I wanted to study, well, I thought first nutrition. I thought I wasn't as interested in the herbal medicine and things. So I did first a certificate in anatomy and physiology, and I loved that. And then so I started getting the ball rolling. And as I did, I realized that I was actually really interested in herbal medicine and the whole thing. So I had two small children at the time, and so just signed up to study naturopathy and nutrition part-time. And so took 5 years. I could have taken 3, but I took 5 years to stretch it out to try and keep the balance while the kids were little. And then by the time they were both at school, I'd finished that qualification. I was teaching yoga and doing massage. And so these days, it's just such a great combination. So within any given workday, I'll see people one-on-one for consults. I'll teach yoga both in classes and sometimes privately, and do the occasional massage. And it works together so well. So say someone's come in for a consult, and actually something that they really need to do is move more. So I get them moving through yoga, or they might be in pain. I'd bring them in for a massage, or they're coming in for a massage and they start telling me about things that are going wrong with their organs. And I'm like, well, I can help that too. So then they come back and we talk internal health. And so it all weaves together so brilliantly that, it really does facilitate overall change. I also work really closely with an acupuncturist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going really, really well because, people can come to me I really like the analogy of what I do works with the hard materials of the body, and what she does is works with the electrics.
Yeah.
So, recognizing that actually overall health is such a complex picture between physical health, mental health, emotional health, and energetic health, that we can't do it all. And so the things that I've studied weave together so nicely, and then working with her with the acupuncture, it's just such a great combination.
And I've seen that you are also offering some retreat. And what I love with the idea of retreat is that everyone comes with their own gift, their own tools that they've learned. And I would love you to explain to us how you conduct those retreats, and what is unique about your retreat, and how you combine all the thing that you've learned. And maybe you have your friend that is also acupuncturist, maybe she's coming in too. So yeah, I would love to hear about, and I'm not the only one, I'm sure, who wants to hear about.
Sure. So I know that retreats can be such a wide range of offerings. I think the thing that's different about these retreats is that it's super casual. It's not luxury, it's not expensive, it's not um, overly anything like that. It's just me and just super relaxed. So I think from what I've heard, that's probably the thing that people love the most. There's no pressure. It's not intense in any way. It's anyone can come no matter what they've done before, even if they're all broken, it would still be fine.
Yeah.
Um, and I navigate through the weekend as a bit of a go with the flow. We've got a plan, but sometimes that plan doesn't feel like the right thing to do at the moment. So I give people a rough plan, but it's a little bit malleable. And so if I've got some movement planned and I can feel that everyone's tired, then maybe we'll do some relaxation and vice versa. And I think that although some people are really planny and they like a schedule, I think that actually works quite well. And helps people to just relax into the flow of it all. I also just encourage people to just do whatever they want. If they want to skip a session, they do. If they come to a workshop and they just lie there for the whole time, that's fine. And we do a variety of things. And yes, the acupuncturist comes along and teaches Chinese medicine stuff, which is really cool. I do some of the teaching. I've got another beautiful friend who comes and does Tai Chi and a whole lot of other random things that she's got a lot of tools in her toolbox. So it's really, really nice having the three of us with very different things that we're bringing to the party. Um, and this retreat that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and the last one, we trialed doing patches of silence, which is something that we'd never done before and was quite well received. Most people freak out when they hear that. I would. But actually, it's really quite nice. As you say, with the busy world and constant emails, it can sometimes feel uncomfortable for a start, but people settle into it quite nicely. And we just cook all the food ourselves to keep it affordable. And so it's just super casual and just a really nice time. A lot of the time, people just enjoy. A lot of the time, people have light bulb moments, but almost always people walk away with a little bit of insight and a little bit of intention, even if it is just realizing I need to say no more, or I need to move more, or there's always some kind of spark of inspiration, no matter how little.
Mm. And if you had this magical wand, how do you see evolving those retreats?
To be honest, I don't see any evolving. I think for now, the way that they are is pretty good. Not saying that they're perfect and I'm awesome or anything like that, but I don't have any plans to or vision to really change them much.
Mm. Go with the flow.
Go with the
As it
flow.
is.
Yeah, exactly. So the last one we ran was quite big. There was like 30 people. This one's only 14. So I don't want to make them too big or too expensive. Yeah, I don't know, actually, for the evolution. I don't know.
You love doing that in New Zealand. You're not thinking of doing it in Bali like a lot of people are doing now.
Not too hard.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like to keep things pretty simple and in the interest of keeping the balance, yeah, like to keep things look, within a certain parameter of difficulty for me as well, so that I'm not stringing myself out. We've got a model that works, and yeah, I still haven't found the perfect location in Canterbury. I used to live down in Central Otago, and we had the perfect
Oh,
location
yeah.
down there, the Lookout Lodge in Wanaka. It was just incredible and perfect. And we've got bounced around a few lodges here. So I guess that's one thing that these retreats need is a solid venue that we all just really, really love. There's been pros and cons to the ones that we've used so far, but yeah, sorry to answer your question. No, no plans to go overseas or do anything. Keep it simple.
Well, we have such a beautiful country here anyway. There's no need to go far.
Exactly.
And I've seen that on Facebook that you've spoken to workshop, a women's workshop, haven't you? Or I don't know if you
Um,
spoke, or maybe you were just part of it.
oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes. Last week there was an event run in Ashburton, um, where there was a few different speakers. So there was Nicola Grigg, who's the Minister for Women. The event was, yeah, women, work and wellness, and there was myself and Donna Marie Lever from One News and Tony Sweetman, who used to be in restorative justice in the police and now runs her business in Ashburton. And so the three of us were on a panel. So Nicola Grigg spoke from a political view, and then we were asked questions on the panel, things to do with wellness. And for me, it was wellness focused. The other two had other focuses like boundaries and um, some other things. And so it was a really nice combination, actually, of people from very different backgrounds giving very different opinions on,
Mhm.
yeah, woman, work, and wellness. It was a really fun event, actually. And from what I heard, yeah, there was over 200 women come. It sold out immediately. I was absolutely
Wow.
shocked. Like it was just very, very well received. People were keen to hear
Yeah.
what everybody had to say. It was a really, really nice event. And I asked actually one of the ladies that came, I said, what was your main inspiration? And one of the first things she said was that it was a woman's event, that it was, she really liked the idea of the woman, kind of empowerment. And Nicola Gregg talked about working in Parliament as a mother of a baby is very difficult. And I think people like to hear, that they're not alone and that everything that they're experiencing is actually potentially common. And we hashed out a couple of ideas of ways to get around particular obstacles in life. So whether it's boundary setting or stress management or self-care. Yeah, it was a really, really fun and inspiring evening, actually.
So what would be the message that you would love to give like today to women in New Zealand, for example, in the wellness area to help them to go through things that maybe you see in your own work, and what kind of message would you like to convey?
It's a big question. Um, I guess listen to the body. I think a lot of women, everybody, women included, experience signs from the body that something might be a little bit out of whack, but just put it down to age or just thinking that it's normal or genes or what, for example, feeling tired all the time or having really heavy periods or getting wild menopausal symptoms or pain. These are all signs from the body that something's a little bit out of whack, and we've got two choices. We could either ignore those signs, maybe take some painkillers and hope they go away, or we could take a step back, listen to what the body says. And if we're not sure what it means or how to interpret those signs, then to seek help from somebody, some practitioner that you trust, to help interpret those signs. And that way, we're practicing not only self-care, but also prevention. So if the body starts speaking, for example, mild headaches, and we don't listen, then the sign will get louder and louder and things will start to go awry more and more. So I guess there's so many things that I could say to answer that question, but potentially one of the most useful would be to listen to the body, and because it will always have some guidance for us if we listen and then respond.
Yes. It's funny because what you're saying is something that should be, hopefully, it will sooner or later taught at school to listen to our body. Yeah, it would save us a lot of challenges.
Yes, I think there's a lot of things that should be taught at school that aren't along those kind of lines for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We won't go into this rabbit hole,
No,
otherwise we'll get the whole day.
that's very true.
All right. Oh, that's fantastic. So regarding the people that are watching this interview is to inspire them to step into their own power, into their own gift, because we all have a passion. We are all creative beings. So what would you tell someone that think they have something that maybe they are interested in yoga, they would like to be a teacher, or they are interested in naturopathy or anything? What would you tell someone, but they are a little bit worried, they don't know how to step forward? What would you tell those people?
Do you mean specifically for that industry or just in life?
In life, yeah.
Okay. I guess for a lot of people that have a little spark of interest in something, there are potentially barriers preventing us from moving forward.
Mm.
And so I guess if there is a spark and we feel hesitant to potentially investigate, then it can be helpful to realize what's holding us back.
Mhm.
Sometimes, self-doubt could be a big thing. You're like, oh, I could never do that, um, or feeling, already tired and busy. So doing, investigating those things could potentially add to the load. But I really like it's not really an analogy, but realizing that doing things that we love, whether it's learning something new or following a path or just doing anything that you love, ignites energy within us, right? It ignites the fire, and passion and inspiration. But it takes energy and motivation to be able to do those things. So potentially just starting with finding out information first. So you don't have to commit to doing anything. But say, for example, you were interested in yoga, then, just looking into what courses are available. Or if you were interested in joining the ambulance, then just, finding out what it entails and without putting any pressure on yourself to actually take any further steps, but just gathering information. And then you might, from that information, feel this is something that you want to follow or it's not. But sometimes even just finding out about those things is enough to ignite that little fire that can help pull you out of potentially feeling unmotivated or feeling too tired to be able to do these things. And I honestly believe, and I've experienced this myself, that when we follow our intuition, when we follow what our gut feeling tells us to start looking into, that door's open for us.
Mm.
If we feel stuck, and if we are too scared to change, or if we are unable to change, life dishes some resistance. I've seen this myself before. So if we have a little interest in something, or if we have a little spark, or to potentially start following that path, it can be very interesting how life responds. A, feeling inspired, motivated, and more energized because it's already ignited that spark, and then B, just watching the doors that open because you're on the right path.
Fantastic. I think it will help a lot of people. I quite love asking this question because everyone has its way of saying it, and it just brings another layer of, okay, I can do it. I can
Mm,
do it.
mm,
There is another question that I never really asked, but I know that you have two children, and at the moment I have a lot of women coming to see me, and they are in their middle-age crisis, but it can be women, but it also men, and it's quite interesting to see both sides. And sometimes, especially women, they've been giving, caring for a husband, children, and then suddenly they feel that there is a nudge, there is something else that is calling them,
mm,
and I guess those women are a bit lost because there is the hormonal changes as well. So my question here is, what would you, what kind of advice would you give to these women that are going through those changes so they can feel supported and maybe also help their spouse to understand a bit more what they are going through?
mm. Yeah, you're right. At that time of life, there's often several things happening. One, hormonal changes. Two, kids growing up and not needing you as much anymore.
Mm.
Often that's the time that parents die as well. So
Oh,
at that
wow.
time in life, it can be really turbulent, and it's the combination of things that can make a lot of people question, what's my purpose? What am I
Mhm.
doing here? And then feeling, as you say, a little bit lost. So I think that I guess there's two avenues to your question. One is supporting the transition, but then also addressing the feeling of feeling a bit lost or lacking in purpose. Um, there have been a lot of studies done on menopause as to why is it that some women sail through menopause and other women like, really, really struggle mentally and emotionally. And there's a lot of factors that contribute to going either way. And some studies are really interesting that in the Western world, menopause generally causes a bit of chaos for women, whereas in Eastern cultures, a lot of Asian cultures, it's just not like that. And
Oh,
so, yeah, so they actually only had a word for menopause in the recent past because it just your period stopped and that was the end of it. Not always, obviously, the massive generalization, but as a general rule, women in this side of the world struggle more. And so these studies are looking into why. And there's so much that we can do to support that transition. Yes, estrogen and progesterone, they will decline. Ideally, the decline is gradual, not up and down and all over the place, throwing you into a whirlwind. If we use diet and stress management and prioritize sleep and look after our mental health and make sure we get exercise and do all of those things, leading up to and during menopause, it can really help to smooth that transition. There are herbs out there that are just as effective as HRT at helping with hot sweats and mood swings and sleep and everything. So if that time of like the midlife kind of questioning is because of hormonal turbulence, then there's lots that can be done in that department.
mhm.
In terms of the purpose in life, it's a big question to ask, and then you can place so much pressure on yourself. What's my purpose? And then the more you're searching, the more you're not finding, and then potentially it builds a little bit of frustration and maybe some sadness because great raising children is a huge purpose.
Yeah.
Even looking after aged parents is a purpose, and so when those purposes go, potentially some people are left like, well, what am I doing here? But I
Mm.
think sometimes the more you search, the less you find. So my advice would be just do the things you enjoy and really enjoy them, whether it's knitting or playing basketball or dancing, or make time at this time to just bring in some things, maybe some things that you used to enjoy that you'd forgotten about. Like, like in your 20s, you used to enjoy, I don't know, pole dancing, but but just do the things that you enjoy, and then that will ignite that spark that we were talking about, and then from there doors start to open. So rather than searching for the purpose, just dive into the things that you enjoy and watch it all start to flow.
That is such a good advice because it really brings a person into the present and therefore, yeah, the mind is sort of there. And so it opens everything else. Yes. Oh, that's so cool. I'm
And
happy I
also,
asked this question. Yeah, go for
yeah,
it.
so from a physiological point of view, there's different hormones and chemicals being produced all the time, depending on what we're doing, what we're thinking, how we're feeling. If we're in a state of, if we're in a bit of a flap, if we are, I don't know what's happening in my life and this is stressing me out and my hormones are all over the place and my life's falling apart, we'll be producing stress hormones, which then contribute to the feeling of anxiety or for sometimes feeling down, and it can affect our sleep. When we're doing what we love, especially if the things that we love involve movement, we start to produce endorphins and some other chemicals in the body that help us to feel calm and regulated. So, apart from the fact that doing things that you love will ignite that fire, it will also help to balance hormones because of the effect of the stress hormones on the body.
Thank you. Excellent. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. I don't have children myself, so it's funny. I don't really ask questions around children, but I realize like all the women that in my age, they see their children growing and they want to, well, I guess they want to make sure that they are thriving and they are growing and that they are enjoying their life. So my question would be, what kind of legacy you would love to pass on to your children?
What do you mean by legacy?
Legacy. So maybe it's not a maybe not a word, but like what kind of message, what kind of yeah, what kind of message do you want to pass through your children so they can pass it on to your grandchildren and so on?
Oh, okay. Let me think about this for a moment. There's so many. I don't know what to choose.
You can
Um,
choose several. You don't have to choose
okay.
one.
Okay. The first thing that sprang to mind was just enjoy.
Mm.
Just enjoy. Life doesn't have to be all serious. And yes, do go to school and yes, do your work, but just enjoy. Get out there, get off the phones, and just enjoy life as much as you can. So that was the first thing that sprung to mind. But something that I'm currently teaching and reminding my children is that food is medicine. They know
Mm.
this, they do. They know that, like if things start to go awry with their health, the first thing that we need to do is cut out this, and just eat shitloads of vegetables. So on a basic level, they know this, but I think that that's something that I think could potentially be a great thing to carry them through life. So as they get out from underneath my wing, and they're making their own decision, there might be this little voice in the back of their head that just reminds them, okay, hang on a minute, I need to wind it in with all the chocolate and all the takeaways that they're bound to have, and just remember that food is enjoyment, but food is also medicine.
Yeah, so powerful. Yeah, especially here when food is so easy to get. Mm, awesome. And what would you say to someone who wants to create their business and they have children and they are just not sure how they can balance? What kind of yeah, advice would you give based on what you've experienced?
Bite-sized chunks, I guess. Start small.
Mm.
It depends on the business, I guess. Some businesses maybe you can't start small, but ideally try in the interest of avoiding overloading yourself, losing the balance completely, just one step at a time. And if there's a business that you're interested in, then just do research first, speak to other people that are in that industry so that you can get some really valuable insight. And also potentially even writing down your priorities. And
Mm.
sometimes, like if you were to list all of the areas of your life, whether it was kids, your relationship, your work, your exercise, if you had a list of all of your areas of life, and then potentially gave them a rating out of 10, like how important this, how much time and energy and value is this thing, then that can be quite insightful, because often people dive into work, especially when it's their own business, at the cost of other areas of life, and then potentially regret that, or it affects their health. I see a lot of people that their work is affecting their health, not necessarily because of the industry, but because of the amount of time and stress that it's causing them. And so they're here to discuss, okay, this is happening with my health and I'm not sure why. And we spend quite a bit of time talking about their work because we actually spend more time working than we do anything else. And so it can be insightful to realize that actually the time and energy I'm putting into my work is the cause of my health issues. So if we're starting up a business, we could potentially have a little bit of foresight and realize that we want to prevent that from happening if our priorities are balance and family and me time and things like that, to take bite-sized chunks as you move into the business so that you can keep your priorities in place.
Thank you for reminding us all that. That's so important. Yeah. So if people are interested, like, wow, what is Lauren is talking about? It's so cool. I need probably some help around herbal medicine. How can they contact you? What is the best way? Or if they want to come for a retreat, what is the best way?
So my website would probably be a good place to start. If you just probably, it's the website's called nourishnaturalhealthcare.co.nz. And all my contact details are on there, so you can ask me. If there's events, then I will post them on the website. I put most things on the Facebook page, which I guess if you just search for Nourish Lauren Stokes, then that will come up. And I've run an email list, which I don't send out emails very often, but if there is a event coming up, then if you wanted to, you could get on that email list and then you'd hear about it first. So I guess that's probably the way forward. Yeah, whether it's coming in for a chat about health or to do some yoga or to come along to one of the events, or yeah, that's probably the best way.
Fantastic. And all those details will be in the show notes. So you're just we'll click on the link and they will go straight into your page.
Nice.
Lauren, is there any question? Whoa, is there one question that I didn't ask and you think I should have asked?
I guess one question that I addressed at the women's talk the other night, which was quite a good one. The question I was asked was, could I speak to the role of stress management in overall health? How important is stress management in overall health? And so my answer to that is that it is actually a really important part. When we think of health, we think, okay, food and exercise, maybe we think sleep. And we all know that stress isn't great, but actually your diet could be perfect. You could be sleeping well. Everything could be perfect. But if we are overly busy, if we're rushing around, if we're stressed, then the production of stress hormones will affect our health. It will affect every area of our health, our mood and our energy and our sleep and actually everything. But if you're already stressed and you hear that, then it's just going to make you more stressed because you're like, no, I need to stop stressing. But introducing regular stress management techniques, very, very small it can be. And sometimes those techniques might not even take any time, like just making sure you turn your phone off at 8 o'clock. That doesn't take any more time. It actually saves you time. Or before you get out of bed in the morning, breathe before you turn your phone on, or meal prep, or whatever it is, to just make a bit of a plan to mitigate the production of stress hormones is just as important as what we're eating and how we're going about our day.
What is the little technique that you love doing yourself for stress management?
I think that for me, the most effective thing to do is breathing practices. In yoga, we call it pranayama. And the one that I use the most is actually not very much breathing at all. But if I am in bed at night and the mind's ticking away, I'll just breathe in slowly into the belly. And while I do, I think in. And as I breathe out, I think out. It's super, super simple. But the slow, conscious breathing calms the nervous system, calms the mind. And then giving the mind a task, thinking in when I breathe in, thinking out as I breathe out, is enough to give the mind a task so that it's not, and then it runs away and then I catch it and I bring it back, and then it runs away and I catch it and bring it back. But for me, that works. There are so many other practices that work really well for other people, like counting the breath, doing like box breathing. So you breathe in and count to 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. That can be a good one. But out of all of the studies that have been done on stress management, breathing is the quickest, most effective way of dissolving stress hormones. It doesn't take any equipment. It doesn't cost you a cent. Your breath is always there, ready to ground you, and it can actually make a massive difference for in the heat of the moment when you feel triggered and you need to calm down. It works. If you did it every day, it means that your baseline stress level would be much lower, so we become much less reactive and more patient, and can really help with sleep. So out of all of the stress management practices, I'd say for me, that's got to be the best.
Yes, and I think that's why all those breathing techniques are so popular at the moment. I interviewed someone who was a hypnotist, and he's changed to he's mixing hypnosis and breath work, and it's working amazing. Yeah, because people, they can't calm down the mind, but the breath sort of forces you to be in the present time moment. Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm really grateful for Hannah for introducing me to you. It was such a pleasure to speak with you today. And if there is anything else that you want to add, anything, a last little advice or information that you want to give to our people?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know. But I think that covered some good topics. I really enjoyed your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for watching the show. I hope you have been inspired to start your journey today, one step at a time. Sure enough, this is how I started. A few years back, it was by listening to some powerful podcast that I finally started my own passion. If you enjoyed the show, please consider to subscribe, like, and even comment what you enjoy the most. I am Lily Mackenzie, your host. I am also a hypnotist in Alexandra, New Zealand, and massage therapist. I have clients all over the world. I can do online and in person. I also have wonderful programs, and I invite you to go in the show notes and have a look at all the wonderful tools that you can have to help you along your journey. Bye for now.